You know what I love?
What?
I love the fact that I married somebody who genuinely allows me to be all of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so glad that I married somebody like yourself who I love all of who you are, and the fact that I get to be a part of the process with you and like everything that you're becoming.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's so dope.
Yeah.
And knowing that we got so many years behind us that we've grown through together, the fact that we've had the opportunity to see us literally grow through so many different phases of life together.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is so amazing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was talking to baby girl in the car, and she was talking about, like how we met and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept it real with her. You know what I mean? I told her some stuff that I hadn't ever thought that I would tell her, not this soon. But I was telling her, about how we met and a lot about who I was when we met.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just thinking back in that moment about like who I was like right before you and who I was after you. And I'm like, man, we've really grown through some life together, like in a major way. Like looking back at who I was earlier in our relationship and getting to know each other and realizing that, man, the woman I met, like, she loved me back then.
Yes.
And she loves me today. Like, she saw all of what I was back then and still loved me through all of that. And to be able to know who that version of me was and then to see who I am today. And I'm like, wow, bro, I'm still rocking with the same amazing woman who's literally grown through life with me. And I'm grateful for that.
Me too. It's so beautiful to see who you became. Like, it's amazing. And of course, like, I loved you when I really got to know you and we became friends. I'm like, man, there's something about him. He's just so dope. You were so genuine. You were so kind. Like, you cared for other people. Like, your heart posture was just different. Like, I had never seen it before. So I fell in love with that. Like, I love that part of you. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you saw yourself as some dude from the hood, had trauma, and like, you saw yourself as probably the worst version in your own head. But to me, I didn't see that. And I think that in itself is like a beautiful thing for me to see the beauty in who you were as a person, in spite of, your past.
Yeah, because, a lot of people, they talk about seeing the potential, in other people and all of those different things. But the fact that I saw myself one way and you saw me another way, I know that was a huge part of, the insecurities and things that I dealt with at that time.
Right.
But you didn't allow all of those things that I thought about myself to keep you from seeing me in a completely different light, which I think is really like amazing in the fact that through some of that or all of that, actually, I didn't allow it to break me down so much to where it pulled me away from you or got you to a point to where you stopped putting in the effort that you did to continue to pursue being with me, like even as friends.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for that too, because I know I wasn't easy. Like I was a lot to deal with back then.
Yeah.
But I also think it's amazing because even so much of who you was back then was polar opposite of me in so many different ways.
Right.
But everything about what you were then was so much of what I needed. And I'm glad that I was able to see that in you back then, even if it was a lot for me to deal with.
Yeah. I'm sure it was challenging to deal with me too. Like you say you were a lot, but I'm sure I was a lot too, because I was the type of person you had never like dealt with before. So I'm sure it came with its own challenges, But I wanted to dial it or go back to you saying that you told baby girl about like who you were when you were younger. Because I think it's super important for your kids to know like where you've grown from. It's like, yeah, okay, I was this way when I grew up. It turned out this way. And now I am here. Like, it's important for them to know, like, so they don't run into the same mistakes or they don't do, some craziness, which they're going to do their own thing, obviously. But it's dope for them to see where you grow from, instead of trying to keep it a secret. Like you didn't have a life wife before a child, like, you know.
Yeah.
So I think it's dope that you shared that with her.
Well, it was super dope. And me and baby girl talking, she broke something down to me that I thought was so amazing. She was talking about how a lot of parents, when they speak to their kids, they're just like, don't do this, or, hey, you better not do this, and all of this stuff, right? But she was like, what I love about you and mom is the fact that y'all don't just tell me not to do something. Y'all tell me why not to do it. You tell me about the consequences. You tell me about what it can do to me as a person, how it can impact my future. And you make it relatable to me as I am right now, to where I can understand it and I see why it's important. So it's not just, hey, don't do this because because I said so. It's, hey, you shouldn't do this, or don't do this thing because this is how it's impacting you and how it can impact your life, and all of these different ways in which we frame it. So that way she doesn't see us just jumping down her throat, but it's like, no, we're telling you this in love because there's a lesson behind it, and we need you to see why it's important beyond us.
Absolutely.
And she was like, most parents don't do that. And she's so glad that we've always done that. And I was telling her, I'm like, man, you know, we've lived and grown through so much, from our own mistakes, from the things that we've grown through and learned or whatever. And we don't want her to have to repeat the same mistakes that we did. But it's not just about telling her like, hey, we made these mistakes, or, you know, you got pregnant when, and your dad was out here wilding out and being a hood dude or whatever. Not all of that stuff, like just to say it like as out of fear or out of just trying to scare you away from doing certain things. But it's like, no, we did these things, and these were the things that we learned from it. These are the consequences that we had to deal with. And this might pertain to something that we've seen you do lately. And we want to tell you how that can compound over time and how it can throw off these other things that may be important to you. But we paint a full picture around that thing so it can mean something to her and her life, rather than just, my folks said, don't do this.
Right.
And I thought that was super dope that she was able to share that with me the way that she did. And I thought it was really eye-opening for me, because it made me realize how intentional we really are with her. And even in trying to give her certain lessons and teaching her certain things, that we don't just spit crap out. Like, we actually give meaning to the things that we say to her, because we needed to connect with her at her level where she's at.
Absolutely. And talk to her like she's a freaking human.
Right.
You know, not talk down to her just because she's a child. Like, we've been there too. Like, we can relate to her on a lot of things. Like, as far as our age difference, we're not too far removed from her age. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a lot of the stuff that we did deal with, like, we can talk to her about because she's dealing with it too. And yes, it's so important, like you said, to make it relevant to her. Because, I mean, I remember my parents saying, well, don't do this, don't do that. Okay, well, why? Like, why? Because now I want to do it, because I want to know. I got to figure out why not to do it, because you ain't really tell me why not to do it.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I think it's very important to make that connection with your child.
And make it real.
And make it real. Make it real
and relevant.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good, babe.
Because it's one of the things that a lot of people struggle with, especially in communication, is they'll say things and they'll think that it makes sense because they have their own reasoning behind it. And they forget that we all see the world through a different lens.
Absolutely.
Our perspectives are different. So you might have a perspective or a way of seeing the world, and the way that you're communicating and the things that you're saying, you think it makes sense because of the way that you're seeing it. But you got to repaint that thing so that way I can see it in my own world. And you got to be able to put it in a frame to where I can make sense of it for me if you want me to be able to receive it.
That's really good, because I think even in that, you have to have a level of connection with your child to even know how to communicate with them in a way that they can understand. You need to know what's going on in their lives so you can paint a picture for them. You know what I'm saying? Because baby girl, she's freaking brilliant. So we're able to really bring certain things to life for her because she's just really smart. So we talk to her probably more advanced than any other parents would talk to their child. But it's because we know her. Like we know how she processes information because we have so many conversations with her. So I think that's really important too. Because it's like, okay, well, you can try to paint a picture, but if you don't understand how your child understands you when you talk to them, how they see the world, then that's another problem in itself. So it's not going to land the way that you want it to because the connection isn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that even from in how we parent her and how people connect in their relationships and their marriages, like that whole part there can get so mucky because we can get so wrapped up in how we feel as parents or how we feel in our marriages and how situations have impacted us. And we can start trying to force information on people because to us in our feelings and our minds or whatever the case, it just makes sense. And because it makes sense to us, we feel like it should make sense to you. And that's not always the case.
Right.
And it reminds me of like when I was talking to a homie of mine, you know, he was talking about he's really gotten himself into his fitness and all of these other things or whatever. And he wants to really be serious about it, but he's having a disconnect between him and his wife and getting her to support him in it. And I was telling him, I was like, if you want your wife to really support you in your fitness journey beyond just, hey, we should be healthy, you have to be able to communicate that in a way to her to where she can be able to understand it and support it for her own reasons. And you have to help her uncover that because it's not always good enough to just say that, hey, I'm doing this thing and I want you to support me or you need to support me or whatever the case, especially if it's going to cause a huge change in your relationship dynamic, how you run your household, the nature of your relationship. Like sometimes even positive changes can have huge impacts on a relationship. And so if you want to get somebody in that, for one, it might be better to have a real deep understanding and conversation before you decide to take that action.
Right.
And then when you're deciding that you want to move that way and you're getting your partner involved or talking to your kid or whoever the case, find reasons to where they can really start to own it for themselves and make themselves a part of it and see how they can be able to benefit from it or at least connect with the reasons behind it. So that way they can have their own reasoning beyond you, even if it's a thing for you, because that's what we did in our relationship. That's what we've done in our marriage when you was deciding to body build, all of these different things. Like we had to communicate that stuff.
Yeah.
We had a whole freaking family meeting before you decided to compete about, hey, you know what? You came to the meeting and you was like, hey, this is something you want to do. If you decide to do this thing, you were like, it's going to change some things. You know, it might impact me mentally, emotionally. I don't know how my body's going to respond to this, but this is something that's important to me. And I want y'all support in it.
Yeah.
Because we're us, it was like, hey, it's a done deal.
Yeah. Because that was already a part of our routine anyway. Anytime we decide to do something that we believe is going to impact the family, we have to bring it to the family meeting because we all need to know. Even baby, she know too.
And that's what was so important about that, because when you brought it up like that and all of us got involved, now we can prepare ourselves for the journey ahead and what is going to be, like what's going to be necessary in all of us being able to grow through whatever that thing is and be able to best support you. And a lot of people fail to realize, man, that you have to have conversations like that.
Yeah.
And we had to find our own reasoning behind it because it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
Like, it's not easy supporting people in drastic changes, but you got to really be able to own it and find ways to make it meaningful for everybody involved sometimes. For them to really be able to be as invested in it as you.
And know that supporting you doesn't have to look like them doing what you're doing. Because like I know some people are like, well, if you support me, I need you to do exactly what I'm doing. Boom, boom, boom. No, like supporting you could be like, okay, well, if I'll say me, for example, like you supporting me, we was doing both our meal plans or whatever, but I was eating differently, but I was still making sure your food was good too.
Mm-hmm.
And you did the same thing for me, and we made sure each other was straight. Like you would cook my food on the griddle too. Like we eating different, but we all on the meal plan. We making sure everything's straight. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it doesn't have to be exactly that. So what exactly does support even look like on this journey? And also being able to be like, okay, well, support this week look like this. Next week, it might look different.
Right.
You know, so we need to have this constant conversation of what support looks like.
Yeah.
But like you said, it does need to be meaningful for both people, and be okay with it not being as extreme for the other person as it is for you, because it's meaningful to you.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have to be super meaningful to them.
Yeah.
For them to support you.
Absolutely.
You know, they don't have to have the heart for it like you do. Like I have a heart for fitness. You do not. But you like being fit. Like you like looking a certain way. But I had like, this is like something I love. I'm crazy about this.
I just have to.
You just, yeah.
In my mind, I just have to.
Right.
Like I just have to work out. Like I can't just not do it.
Yeah.
But I definitely got the love you got for it.
Right. And that's okay. But we still support each other the best way we can in that particular area.
Yeah. And like, I think that's why it's been so important for us to be able to communicate the way that we do. So that way we can stay involved, we can stay inside of each other's process, be able to, like you said, support each other the way that we need to. Mm-hmm. And all of those things, because it's so freaking important, man.
Yeah.
Like when you're trying to create a connection, be it with your spouse, your kids, whoever, like it's so important to be able to keep each other included in those processes. And like you said, make it meaningful to the person on the other side, outside of whoever the goal is for. Mm-hmm. And what people fail to realize, man, is like when you're in these processes, when you're making something meaningful to you, it don't got to make sense.
Yeah.
Like, it don't have to make sense. Like you can literally come up with your own reasoning and make it make sense for you to be able to do that thing for whatever the season is. Mm-hmm. Like, even when you were going through your whole process, you know, with bodybuilding and all of this stuff, I had to think to myself, I'm like, man, you know what? We've envisioned who we want to be in the future. Mm-hmm. We've already thought about what we want our lives to look like. We've talked about, you know, the type of people that we want to be from the inside out and all of these things.
Right.
And though we talk about how we want to be in the future, right now matters. Mm-hmm. And we might have different processes of what allows us to be able to go through those experiences that create that change inside of us.
Right.
So for you getting to be that person who feels or looks like on the outside, like what you feel like on the inside, your process was bodybuilding. Mm-hmm. Like for me, it's content. It might be pouring into people, coaching, whatever the case may be. My process is my own. Yeah. But it's leading us in a direction that ultimately gets us to where we want to be and what we've decided we want to be or where we want to be at 3-5 years down the road. Even if our processes are different. Right. But we're still working in the same direction together. Yes. And now all we have to do is just like, hey, you know what? I know this is why you're doing this thing and I got your back. I'm gonna help you see this thing through because it's bigger than what the right now is. It's bigger than just fitness. It's bigger than just content. It's bigger than just coaching or whatever the case may be. We're working to become a person that we've already decided that we want to be in a later time. Yes. Somewhere down the road. But we got to do the work today to get there.
Absolutely.
And that's what people miss. Like, it's bigger than just what you see. No, we're in the process of the becoming.
Yeah. That's so dope. I know our conversation started about, it started out by you saying me loving who you were when we first met. And something I was telling you, I feel like it was in the car, maybe earlier today. I was telling you, like, I love you more today than I did when we first met. Like, I loved you then. Like, and I was like, oh, I love you. You know, it's cute. It's cute. It's cute. But I love you. Like, oh my God. Like, I feel it like all up in here when I say I love you. Like, it's so different, like seeing who you've become throughout these years. I mean, we've been together 13 years. Like, you're amazing.
Thank you.
Like, you're absolutely amazing. And I'm so glad that I've been able to be a part of it. I'm so glad that I've contributed to who you are. And you're such a beautiful person. And I'm so glad that you are letting the world see you by you making content, because your voice is the way you think needs to be heard.
I appreciate that.
You're a beautiful person. And I love you. I absolutely love you. And I'm in awe of you often. Like looking at, like, you make me want to be a better wife. You make me want to be a better content creator. You make me want to be a better person, because just watching you grow and lean into who you desire to be, it just makes me want to lean more. I'm like, okay, I got to step my game up too, you know?
I promise you, baby, the feeling is mutual.
It's like silent competition, low key.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
In a good way, in a positive way.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Okay.
level up, like I level up, you level up. No?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Competition.
Never mind.
Right.
No, you did just challenge me though
I did.
to a content creating competition. So
Yeah, that was for you. Help you level up. Because I'm on your head top. Because it's competition, right?
competition. See that, and
I'm
that's
on
what I'm
your
saying.
head top.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Right there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But I do get it though, because like I told you, I think the same day in the car,
Mm-hmm.
so much of who I am today is because of who you've been in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say that, like, anybody that loves me, you have to love my wife, because so much of who I am today is because of who my wife has been to me, because of everything that you've poured into me. You've helped me get to a place to where I can actually lean into my potential and do it for reasons that extend beyond me. And I'm so grateful that I've had somebody in my life for these past 13 years who's given me that desire. Because it is one thing to think that you can be a certain thing, or to have a vision of yourself, or whatever the case may be, but having that genuine desire created in you from somebody that you love, and knowing that all of the things that you've spoken into me, all of the things that you've contributed to me, it was never just something to benefit you. It was because you saw it as something that would benefit me.
Absolutely.
Regardless.
Absolutely.
And that's what a lot of people don't maybe see or understand, so to say, because those big things, man, that contribute to the one that you're with really growing and becoming the best version of themselves, when they're doing that real work, you know that extends beyond the relationship, beyond the marriage.
Right.
And you've always encouraged me to do things like that are for me.
Yes.
But that also benefit you. And I've done my best, to do the same thing for you. Because it's not just about being the best husband or wife and things like that, but also being a person that you're genuinely proud to be. Somebody that you love being for yourself. Because even though in this marriage, we're here to serve one another, you need to feel exceptionally well about who you are individually.
Right.
You need to feel on freaking cloud 9 about yourself, as much as possible, and who you're being, not just the stuff that you do, not just the things that you accomplish, feeling good about who you are as a person.
Yes.
Because if you get that from the inside out, everything that you do on the outside that benefits your wife, your kids, your spouse, whatever the case may be, they're getting the absolute best because you're doing it from a place that actually comes from inside of you, that you love.
Yes.
The person that you truly value and hold dear, they're getting that best version of you because you actually love you and all that you're pouring out. And it goes beyond just the things that you do and the things that you accomplish and all of that stuff. And that's what you've done for me. You've gotten me to a place to where I've learned how to better love myself. I've learned how to better do things that make me better for me.
Yes.
And like you said before, being able to have an experience like this just in life and in marriage and stuff like that, like, man, you can't put a price tag on this. Like, you can't put a dollar sign on something like this, man. Like, it's so freaking amazing. And so much of who I am today, man, I just don't see it possible having become this without you. And I'm so grateful for that. And I'm so grateful that I get to pour into you the same way, as best as I can. Hell, I was telling baby girl the same thing earlier. Like, I'm
Yeah.
so glad that I've gotten the opportunity to be her dad and to pour into her. And I'm like, man, I don't think I've always done the best things, or made the best decisions in certain things. But I'm glad I was able there to do the things that I did do. And then even being able to go back and to self-correct and talk about them and grow through them together, because even that is an opportunity.
Yes.
Because that allows us to be able to see ourselves even inside of those moments and grow through those things together and be able to show and express love in a meaningful way, even seeing us in our flaws and our mistakes.
Yeah.
And
it shows her that you don't have to be perfect in this life. You're going to make mistakes. And it's okay to go back and fix that. You don't have to always get it right the first time.
Absolutely.
That's a part of life and growing. And she gets to see that firsthand with her parents. So she's not out in the world thinking, dang, I didn't do it this way, so now I'm a failure because I didn't get it right the first time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, no, it's okay. Make mistakes. Fail. That's fine.
Right.
Let's grow.
Trying to tell you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, I think you've played a huge role in a lot of who both me and baby have become. So,
I would really
shout out to you.
I would really just like to point out, like, I was pouring into you and saying how great you were, and then you was like, it ain't really no competition, and then you came back and you really just outdid me with everything you just said. It was a competition, low-key.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I see it that way.
I didn't see that.
God, but thank you.
Man, I'm just grateful for you. That's all.
Thank you. I love you.
I love you, and I think that a lot more people should really be more intentional about how they pour into each other, inside of their marriages, in their families and things like that. Because like we say all the time, man, you can do so much more together than you can apart.
Absolutely.
And the roles we play in each other's lives, like, it matters.
Yeah.
It matters so much, man. Like, for the wives out there, man, it's like your husbands need to know that they're valued and that they're appreciated and that they're seen and all of those things. Just like to the husbands out there, the wives need to know that they're valued, that they're appreciated, that the things that they do, that it matters to them, and that you don't take any of those things for granted. And being able to have that exchange, like, it makes the union so much more valuable and loving and accepting and all of those things. And it's how we pour into each other that allows our spouses to be able to do the same thing in return to us. And it means a lot.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It means a lot on a whole lot of different levels. And I want to encourage y'all to do a whole lot more of that, man. If you're not there already, you need it. You need it for yourself and you need it for the one that you're with. So that's my message.
That's good, babe. That was good.
Hey, if you guys have gotten value out of this, please do, man. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. But until next time, family, my name is John Tron. This is my beautiful queen.
Adoria.
We are one dope couple. And until next time, family, peace and love.